Hey, what's up, y'all? Yo, yo, yo. Make sure y'all can hear me. Let me know if some adjustments need to be made. If the music's too loud or whatever, just let me know. What up, Walt? Man, ain't nothing. Just chilling like a villain. Ready to get this Hulk going. Cool. So, it's been what, 3-4 weeks now. We've been doing some torso studies or torso practice series type thing. I don't think we need to go into the whole showing you what I did the previous weeks. Some of that stuff's still on YouTube. Each week, I move certain things to Patreon. After a while, I kind of still want people to kind of come in and stuff, so I'll leave it up there for a little bit, but I won't leave it up there for long, because this is for people that are actually paying. So without saying any more, I'm gonna jump into this Hulk and I'll show you my reference and all that stuff. So I just found something. This was from the internet. Eddie suggested it last week. And so I was looking for more of a dynamic pose versus like just a straight on type pose. I wanted to do just something a little different, since this will be the last of the torso series. You can see he's got some good striations in his muscles and stuff like that. But I am going to approach this the exact same way I've approached from the beginning of the series. And I'll kind of talk through that while we're doing this. But yeah, we could talk about anything. So that's the reference. What's up, Brandon? Eddie. What's going on, Hugo? All right, so I looked at that reference for a little bit earlier. So I kind of know where I want to go with this. I don't need to look at it for any real length of time, but we're just going to start like I've been starting. So his chest is really wide. We talked about this last week too, when I was drawing Spawn. The Hulk is obviously way out of proportion, right? His hands are really huge. I mean, he's just a huge dude, but his hands stick out to me a little more because they're bigger than what his body is. Sometimes some people make him really big, but because he's a big dude, we're going to make his chest, we're just going to spread it out a little more. And so I'm kind of just drawing a circle. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. But you can see my circle kind of here, oval. And actually, we'll go over so I'm drawing this part right here, his chest. We got a line of action right here. So I'm gonna put that in there. We can see his ribs right here, so I can probably drop that in there somewhere. Because he is turned to the side a little bit, we're gonna see his ribs. If his arm wasn't that big, we'd see his lat right here, his lat muscle. What else? And then I will, because we were only doing torso, but I just have the top torso of him here. I'll do his arm and his fist, and I guess I'll just do the whole thing, because it's not as much that's going on down here below his waist. So Now I'll jump back into it. So, like I said, I'll just start here with the circle or oval for his chest. We'll put in the line of action. And what you could do, you can probably like just there's these life drawing apps and websites you can get. You can just do this, right? So you start getting that muscle memory and getting some flow happening. You can just do really quick, if it's an S curve for the action, you can do that. For the faces, all that stuff, you can just do lines and ovals. So you start getting the form of what you're looking at. And then once you get that, heck, just looking at this circle in that line, we already have the pose, right? We already got the motion of what's happening. And like I was saying before, I'm gonna just put little marks in here. I'm just guesstimating right now. This doesn't have to be the end all say all, right? So now I'm gonna just pick a mark where I feel like his pecs kind of come up and where they meet each other here, where they create that upside down V, right? And I'm gonna just kind of go off over here. I'm gonna kind of bring this chest muscle over here. So I'm staying within that circle oval that I've created. And you can see I'm kind of loose with it. So I'm way back here. And I'm letting the weight of the pencil do most of the work. I'm just pushing it. And none of this stuff has to be in the exact place right off the rip. And I won't go into too many showing the little reference points that I was doing before. Right now, I'll just tell you when I'm using a reference point. So this was a reference point. I'm using this muscle here, part of his shoulder muscle, as a reference point. So I know that chest connects into this, right? And it's just flowing. So chest, the bottom of it flows right into the top muscle of his shoulders and stuff. But he has another part of the shoulder that I'm using for reference as that little point right here. And I'm gonna jump back over here, pull down for some stomach muscles. And so because I use this as one of my reference points, in my brain I'm just pulling down here and going across and seeing what lines up with what, right? So I know he's got some rib stuff showing here, rib and muscles on top of the ribs. His bicep is here. And so now I'm gonna use where his bicep ends as another reference point, because on the picture, that's where his back starts. And again, I'm just kind of feeling through it at this point. I'm using just all different types of reference. Nothing solidified, if you will. And then the Hulk has like a box head, so I'm gonna just draw a box instead of an oval. I remember in school, as an animator, we were taught that different shapes meant for different feelings in Disney movies. So if you noticed how all villains have pointy shapes, they're triangle-esque. Their chins, most of their chins come into a point, whether it's a male or female. Happy characters are more round, their faces are more round. And if it's a square, they can be either or, right? They can either be a villain or, I guess, a good guy. And we know just by, reading comics and knowing who the Hulk is, sometimes the Hulk can be good, sometimes he can be bad. So I think that's why they made him a square head. Or it makes sense why he has a square head. Okay, and so you can see here I've done his head, right? It's a little bit of a turn, so I'm gonna put a slight curve here. But what I wanted to say is that I used his head as a reference point. This right here, I'm looking at how his traps connect to here. And so it's right at his jawline where they come, where they meet. And so I just pull a line over there and kind of see where this line ends. It should end in the middle of this muscle. And so right now I feel like I'm off a little bit, right? So I'm going to make some adjustments. This muscle should be up more. I got it down too low. But I can use that line for something else. And so what I'm doing is that I'm figuring out those reference points without putting them down. I'm kind of just filling through it and just getting out a rough shape of what I see. I shouldn't have put those there. Hold on for a minute. Let me get these out of the way here, because his shoulder is kind of up here. All right, so we got this part of that shoulder muscle here. We got this muscle here. And now I'm just kind of seeing where this flows to. Somewhere like that. And right now I'm just drawing a little dark so I can see these lines over here. And then you got that. There's in your arm, there is I forget what the name of the muscle is. I can look it up, but there's a muscle in between the bicep and the tricep that people always forget to put in there. And it makes the arm look weird when it's not in there. Once I find out what that name of that muscle is, I'll let y'all know. But when people don't put that in there, it makes the arm look not skinny per se, but it definitely lends to a not finished looking arm, if you will. All right, cool. So now we have the bicep here. Yeah, I'm cool with this. I'm cool what's happening here. And then this piece has definitely some foreshortening happening, right? And I'm gonna just draw blocks for his hands for right now. And if you remember in how to draw hands and feet, I always start with boxes for hands. Just so we get a feel for what's going right there. And then same with this side over here, right? So we have his arm is kind of back behind him a little bit, and his fist and forearm are just out. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at where the top of that forearm comes out, and it comes out about right here or so. And then where does the bottom one come out at? A little right under this stomach muscle, ab. Kind of just like that. And then we have another kind of just box out a fist for the Hulk. And so if we pull away a little bit, what's up, Michelle? You know, we have enough information now to where we can just kind of start pressing down, if you will, adding a little more weight to those lines. And so if I'm looking here, we have some abs and stuff coming from under, or his ribs with some ab muscles kind of right under his chest. And I think this is a sculpture, so whoever sculpted this, they've done a really good job on it. They understood the assignment. Because the like I was saying with the Spawn, you know, he had some weird stuff happening with his ribs, but whoever done this one, they paid attention to anatomy. They probably looked at a lot of reference as far as like bodybuilders and muscle fitness magazines, all that stuff. And I'm still kind of loose with the pencil. Again, we're in no rush. I'm just taking my time, making sure. I'm trying to make sure I hit these, I don't want to say imaginary reference points, but reference points in my head. And that's kind of what I'm doing, right? I was watching somebody else draw, and even when I look back at videos of when I draw, it looks like I'm moving hella slow, right? But I think what I'm doing is my brain is processing these reference points, right? I'm looking all around, you know, like what point is here, what point is there, what things need to line up over here versus over on the top or wherever. You know, my brain is processing all these little bits and things of information that I am taking in. to make all this work. All right, cool. So if I bring that over, because this is where my first reference point was. I see what it is. I see now. All right, so I got some muscles happening here. So this is the part of the chest that we never want to forget, right? This is the chest muscle as well as this muscle. So women have breast here, but they still have pecs under there. And we talked about this when I was doing the female torso. These striations in the muscles up here, in the Hulk, they're just more defined because he's so ripped. And so we just want to make sure we put that stuff in there, all that information. So this line here is wrong, right? Because this muscle is kind of huge on the reference. And again, that's why I drew light, right? So I really don't care. I mean, again, if I was to give this to if I was doing this for a client or giving this away to someone, I would erase that. But at this point, I really don't care because I can use that as some shadows or something here to hide that line. This is also a really good reference as far as lighting too. Whoever took the picture done a really good job on it. So we have this neck muscle, but then it's like these little things, and it's really dark under here. So I'm gonna just throw that in real quick. And you know, shadows start adding volume and stuff like that, right? And at this point, I'm pretty much happy kind of with what I got going on as far as his upper torso part. Again, there may be minor adjustments that I'll mess with, but I'm pretty cool with where stuff is laying down. So and I think I like this too because there's again, that lighting, there's planes that are happening now. How the light hits certain areas and stuff. So I think that's it's a pretty good reference here. And that comes like that. And so now I could zoom in on the reference and then start picking parts. So let's just start here. And then it's more, you know, now we're just starting to get to the shading. You know, this is the, I guess, tedious part would be what I'm trying to call this part of the drawing. And y'all have seen me do plenty of shading techniques and stuff like that, right? right? I'll go one way, come back and go another way. Let me zoom in a little more. But yeah, I'll start with a light to scribble back and forth one way, come back again the opposite way. If I want it to be really smooth, I'll do some circles in there, like just real quick little circles, but really light, because I don't want to disturb the fade too much, if that makes sense. He's got some stuff happening over here. A little shade happening here. Well, I hope everybody is doing all right. I'm chilling. I got, so I ordered a puppet from Etsy and it came today. It's pretty cool. So I got some plans that I'm gonna be doing with the little guy. I'm trying to think of a name right now. Trying to think of a voice. Learning how to do a puppet. You know, we've all seen, you know, Sesame Street and the Muppets, and you've seen Jim Henson and his crew. They're under there doing their little hand things and making the puppet talk. Like, low key, that's some hard ass shit to do, man. And they do movies and TV series and stuff. I'm just like, I did a quick minute little silly clip of the puppet and me just messing around or whatever, but you know, when there's syllables and you're using that puppet, you got to make his mouth move twice, and you have to just move your bottom thumb instead of the whole thing, instead of your whole hand going up and down, because then it'll just look silly. I really have to take my hats off to puppeteers, because that stuff, like I said, low key is some serious work. And I'm sure we all thought it was. I know I thought it was work, but to make the mouth and all that stuff go with your hand and your mouth and his mouth, it's just oof. But I'll figure it out. Oh, they're the coolest, man. I'm really excited to just really mess with it and kind of see what I can do and just how he'll grow. You know, I mean, it's literally I don't want to get all like weird or anything, but it's a person, right? He has to have his own personality. He has to have his own everything. So I think it'll be cool for me to watch him grow. It's like I have another kid now. I have to tend to. Like I said, without being weird, it's still like a thing that you can't neglect and all that. I mean, because if not, it just won't grow, right? Now, granted, a puppet, I can just put that thing down and be like, yeah, whatever. But if I want to use him like I plan on using him, little dude might get some of my time. And I got it off this I think it was a husband and wife team or something on Etsy. And I didn't want to spend too much money on one just yet in case it wasn't something I wanted to do, right? I didn't want to spend, because some of them things can get up to like $800-900. I seen one for like $1,200. And heck, the ones that Sesame Street and them use, those things are hella expensive. So yeah, I just got the homeboy makes them out of their basement type joint, and that's okay for me for right now. And even when I'm doing like this stuff, I am still looking at different reference points, right? Because now I got most of this figured down as far as like the muscles and the movement and all that. But now even when I'm doing shadow and shading and all that stuff, I'm still looking for reference points. You know, like this thing, this shadow here, where his neck is. So I'm looking like, okay, this point, how far is it from here to there? You know, when it curves like that, how far does the end of that curve go, and how far the end of this curve goes? Let me zoom in some so y'all can see. This right here, I was using as a reference, and when it comes to a point, how far is it from here to here? How far is it from here to here? When the curve of that shadow meets this line, how far is it from here? What touches here? And the same on this end, how far is that down? And what does it touch? And all that stuff. So just because I'm done with this main part, and you know, I'm not saying reference points anymore, I'm still using reference points. And I've said it since we've been doing the whole series, is that for me, what reference points will help is proportion. So let's just talk about this little part here again. You know, if I'm using that as a point from here to here, if I make it too long, then everything else starts getting scrunched up down here, and I got to try and squeeze all that in there. If it's too short, there's a big gap here that shouldn't be. And that's helping me keep things in proportion. Again, you can be off a little bit, right? It's a drawing. Now, granted, I've seen people draw stuff, it looks like a photograph, but that's not me, and that's not what I'm doing. I'm sure there's different tips and classes and all that other stuff to do to get photorealistic drawings, but I'm drawing a comic. I don't care if it's off a little bit, but very little. I want it to be off enough to where you won't notice it's off. I'll notice it's off, but just looking and flipping through a comic, it can be off a little bit. Yeah, totally. I feel the same way about Fictional character. Yeah, man. I mean, those things are living. You have to get in the mindset of characters, right? And heck, you have a slew of characters, so I can only imagine what your brain looks like. Um, but reference points. Back to reference points. Use reference points for everything. And like I said, just take your time. You have to build up some uh, uh, muscle memory and all that stuff, and that's cool, right? But even then, still take your time. Look at reference points. Look at different things where they intersect. And before you lean in hard on, putting down hard, thick, bold lines, keep the pencil loose. Like, I'll go back and forth between loose and hard, up close to where I can get. And I rarely draw up close like this anyway. I'm usually in the middle, no matter if I'm doing hard or soft. But when I want to go really soft, I'll hang it way back here, so I'm not forced to push down. So yeah, I usually hang about right here somewhere. And again, I'm still just looking at different references, different points to see where this stuff will fall, right? And like I said, it's okay for it not to be perfect on a first go round. It's perfectly fine for it not to be perfect on the 100th go around. That's the whole point of practicing and getting better. But I've seen so many people give up or get frustrated when something is not perfect right out the gate, or even if it's the 100th try. Anything takes time, right? And speaking of that whole thing, I posted something on Instagram. There was so I created, and I'll take a pause for a minute. I created my high school logo years ago, and there was something that was going on with Facebook, and the school district wasn't they wasn't low-key acknowledging that I was the creator. So they got all that fixed or whatever, but I reposted that to Instagram, and I think I said something, and I'm paraphrasing now, something like it takes time to get to what I'm doing now, for me and my journey, right? I'm 50. I'll be 51 next month. So you go through your life, and it just takes time for things to happen. And I've said something to the fact of I'm finally doing art as my full-time career. And somebody commented, and they were just saying how envious they were of me. I didn't reply back. I was going to, but then I just didn't. But it just made me think about now kind of what we're talking about, is that it just takes time, for that to work out, I guess, in whoever's favor or whatever. You just have to put time in, there's obviously people that are younger than I am that are in the industry and doing, great things in animation or whatever they're doing. and it just takes time. That's all I got, really. It's just because I was talking about this takes time as well, to get to certain levels. You just have to keep doing it. I think that's the thing. And especially you have to keep doing it. Like, if, like I said, I'm 50, so I got 3 kids. I'm a granddad now, and it's quote unquote my time, if you will. Somebody's saying they need some juice here, but hold on for a minute. It's going to shake a little bit. Close. All right. And to just about the whole time thing, right? There's, I have 3 kids, and I get it for people that want to be a full-time artist and you can't because you got a family, or you have to pay bills. I get it, but it's just going to be times where there's no sleep. You know what I'm saying? Like, you go home, you go to your first job, 9 to 5 or however long it is. You got to come home and tend to the family, whether man or woman, depending on what your situation is. And then when they kind of go to sleep, you don't go to sleep. You stay up for another couple hours at least, and plug away at whatever it is. I always encourage people to stick with it, right? Because it is hard. I mean, if it was easy, everybody would do what they wanted to do. I will say I have been, and always have been, drawing. I've been naturally born talented, without getting into any type of religious thing. I mean, I feel like I've just been blessed, with a gift. And some of this stuff comes easier to me than others. But I still had to practice. I still had to sit up at night, when I got off from my other jobs, and just practice. You have to put in the work. And like I said, I get it. If you got a job that you don't want to do, and you're tired, you come home and all that stuff, you still just got to push through all that. I'm not sure why I'm going on that tangent, but the whole thing is, this stuff takes time. Whatever you want to do, whatever you see somebody else doing, or you want to start your own business. It don't have to be art, but none of that stuff is overnight, and you'll have to sacrifice your own time to make it happen. No shorts. Yes, say once in a while somebody will come across my work and they'll get some idea in their head about how I got success. Yeah, man, 20 years, easy 20 years too. Like, it's probably more, but it's just sometimes there will be no sleep. Sometimes there will be no eating. Sometimes there'll be no, you just have to, and some people are fortunate that they don't have kids to where they can sacrifice a little more. They can spend time and not have to worry about anyone else but themselves, who gets to eat and when, making sure, you know, other people aren't affected, right? It could be pets, it could be kids, it could be whatever, something else that takes that time. Like Eddie said, it's a hustle, man. It's a hustle. One I wouldn't trade. I love the hustle. I feel like it keeps me on my feet. It keeps me fresh. It keeps me, you know, wanting to get better at what I do. But believe me, it's a hustle. She's just a hustle. But I do think you can do it. Whoever, you know, this may be for, someone else may listen to this later on. It's definitely doable. Trust me, I'm here to tell you it's doable. I've done it, and I'm doing it. But I as I'm sitting here thinking and talking, it took me some real, one, sitting down and be like, all right, is this what you really want to do? You know, you have to have a sit down talk with yourself. Because it's all fine and great. It's like, yeah, I want to be this great artist. I want to do comics for DC or animate for Disney or whatever. I mean, you have to have that real conversation with yourself first of all. And then decide, like, okay, am I going to put in this work? Because now it's going to cause you to reevaluate some things, you know. Like, oh no, I was just bullshitting. Or I'm going to just, you know, come at it at a different strategy and be like, all right, I'm going to do a little bit here tonight. I'm going to do a little bit there. And you don't have to do it all at once either. There's that Star Wars. Sorry. Whenever I hear Star Wars stuff, I kind of get excited. But it's doable, right? You have to just sit back and be like, hey, I'ma really do this. And then map some stuff out, right? You can't get to California from Georgia without a map. You'll get lost. Now, granted, you may know some major interstates. Be like, oh yeah, take Route 66. It should go from here to there. But there's all type of exits and stuff you may need to get around and do stuff. So you'll need a map. And you need a map for this stuff too. You'll need a map to make sure what you're doing, how fast you can go, you know, what exit to get off, what exit to get on, you know, when to stop and rest. So that's the main thing, you know, talking to yourself and then figuring out, okay, I need a route. Figure out the route and you stick to the route. Who cares when you get there? You get there. You know, if you want to speed and get there quicker, then that means, you know, there may be no sleep. There may be no time to eat sometimes. If you want to get there at normal time, follow the speed limit, then that's okay too. Just figure out what works for you. And for this, I'm kind of just sketching out before I put the shadows in, right? And then I'll do, my thing again. I'll go one way, come back the other. If I know it's darker here, I can kind of go in real quick and hit that dark and then fade it out to a lighter shadow. Mess around here and make stuff darker or lighter. And again, like I was saying, I've been doing this for a minute, so a lot of this stuff, and I think even for me, like even doing this stuff, right, live Patreon stuff, live whatever, I had to sit back and think, okay, do I really want to do this? Do I have what it takes to teach something? It's one thing to, all right, I could draw, cool. Can I explain it to someone in a way that they'll get it? That it won't be so far over a non-drawing person's head that they'll get it, I'm hoping, I've had other artists. I think Brandon has hit me up a few times, and a couple other people have hit me up too. And, they said that the stuff is helping them, which is cool. They find it useful information. But again, I think as far as like folks like Brandon and other artists, we know some of the terms and some of the things that I'm trying to convey with these series. How does that go across with people that don't draw? How does that come across to very new beginning people that are like, I still don't understand what you're talking about, So now I got to go back and figure out, okay, am I being too wordy? Am I going too fast? Am I not explaining enough? I think I have it a little bit anyway, and how I came about is that I created an ebook on how to draw hands and feet. And I was at this art show. It was like I want to say interactive art show, but it was like an art show to where it was just a really chilled environment. People were sitting down, having drinks and all that. And in that art show, I was like, I wonder if I could teach people how to draw hands. Because I know hands are like one of the biggest thing artists always struggle with. So I went to people that couldn't draw and was like, hey, I'm trying something new and I want you to be a guinea pig. So I went out, got my notebook, and came up with the square method, shapes, And I would go up to them, I'd be like, hey, can you draw? They would say no, they could draw stick figures. And I'd be like, hey, I can get you to draw hands in 5 minutes. And, the look right off the rip was like, sure, right. And then, when I went through what I was telling them and they looked at the paper and they had a decent looking hand, it wasn't stick figures. It wasn't like a Mickey Mouse glove. It was an actual hand. That's kind of when I felt like, all right, maybe I can teach some people something. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I know I'm just rambling. But it's cool talking with y'all, so I'm okay with that. But yeah, Eddie, if you're still out there, man, this was a good choice to do the Hulk. He's just got some really good striations and stuff happening. Definitely allows you to get some good shading practice in, just from some lights to darks. And then this is a hard line here. And why it's a hard line there is because the shadow is making it really hard. And this here, I think I was saying last week too, when I did the spawn, it was like, there's no need to do all that black. You kind of just put little X's there. And that would be for the inker to know, just to use a big brush to get that in there. And I'm just standing up this reference here because the light is kind of messing with me right now. It's really dark under here too. But he's got some ribs and muscle stuff happening up under here. Yeah, as I'm looking at this reference, like I said, whoever did this, they've done a really good job as far as the sculpt is. Because as I'm drawing this side of this chest muscle, if you look at, your obviously chest is connected to your other muscles and then the skin, and there's like, look at the side where I'm pointing at right now. If you look at, maybe not a real big bodybuilder, but like a really fit muscle fitness, there's little muscles like right here in this area that always fascinate me. That they're there, but when people who sculpt or draw puts those little things, like I said, it's these little details. And I was mentioning, like, there's a muscle here in between your bicep and tricep. These muscles up here for the rest of the chest. It's just that attention to detail that really gets me going, right? I'm very detail oriented anyway, but when I see all that little extra stuff, to me it's just magic. And I like putting that stuff in there. It just adds just a little bit more to the overall piece. One, it shows that you're looking at all that little stuff in there. And no, you don't have to put it all in there. Don't get me wrong, but I like all that little stuff. And I think, like I was saying last week, I think that's what McFarlane tries to do when he's doing all those little designy things. Sometimes, for the most part, I think he's just doing designy work to do designy work. But those little things, man, they make a world of a difference. The details. And with that said, I am not going to lie, I will not finish this tonight because there's so much stuff going on in this piece. But I think I got my point across here as far as, how to start. So I'm going to go over this real quick. I'm going to pull out just a little more. I'm going to grab my red pen and black pen real quick. And I ain't gonna put too many on here, but I'm gonna show you some of the reference points I was using. Let's see, zoom in just a little bit. So this red dot was a reference point. This was a reference point, the side of his neck. This was a really big one, so I'm gonna make that just a little bigger. What else? I was using this sometimes as a reference point, the bottom of his chest. I used this. I used this. So this is where his traps come into his shoulder muscles. I can't think of the name, but there's it kind of folds into them too, right? I use that. I use his chin. What else? I use this part. So where his bicep came in, and then where his lats will kind of start falling through. And then I was using, we talked about me using this little section here as reference, how far this should be. a lot of these little things here when I was doing his stomach muscles. I was using a lot of this stuff as reference. I was cross hatching. It was like, I don't know what sound that was, but those dots that I just put, those were the main reference points I used to shape him out. We started with the oval. We started with, next came the line of action. And then you just pick a point. There's not, I could have started here. I could have started, here. I just chose to start here because I think this area, whoever took the picture, it's this area that they were focused on, his chest and his face. So I was like, cool, I'll start there. But I could have as well started here. And again, I would have used that as my reference point. But I think for me, honestly, typically I start center of something, right? Even though we see more chest here because he's turned, I still start center of something. Just so now I can start spreading him or her, or whatever the subject is. I could start in the middle, go one way, come back, and then go back the other way. That's just me. People can start wherever they please, but I start typically in the middle when I'm doing this stuff. But with that said, I think that's gonna be it. I appreciate y'all as always. I will probably mess with this some more, probably in the morning, and try and get some more. I don't know. Who knows? I may mess with it in the morning. I may not. It just felt good to draw. I hadn't drawn in a while because I draw all the time doing tattoos. So, but yeah, I'll probably finish him up at some point. But yeah, I do appreciate y'all for hanging out. I will see you guys, if not next week, the week after. I will see you next week, but I probably won't do the head yet. I want to prepare for that, so I'll probably draw something, or I'll do some model stuff next week. I'll send an email or something to let y'all know. I'll be doing something, but I won't be doing the head series yet. I'll wait a week to do that because I just want to get some stuff together, look through some books, and twist it to how I do stuff. So, but yeah, I will see y'all next week.